Hey everyone, it's Jennifer here from Flavors of the Umpqua, and I was just going to do a quick video to tell you what I do with my excess kale. So we have a heat wave going on. Yesterday I harvested all the lettuce in my garden, so we're going to be eating huge salads this week. But I also harvested all the large leaves from my kale, and I've dehydrated them. I'm going to pulverize this into a powder in my Vitamix, and then I use it. I can add it to my smoothies. Of course, I could add fresh greens or frozen greens to my smoothies, but I really like to have powdered greens because I don't like them to go to waste, and because it's really handy when I'm traveling. I can just stir a big spoonful into my little smoothie jar and shake it up and make sure that I get my good serving of greens because they're so good for you. So let me show you how simple it is. Okay, so this is a dough rising bucket that I use. It is a little more than 8 quarts. What I did was I harvested my large leaves of kale, and I went ahead and washed them really well, and then I stripped the leaves off of the stem. Now, you could actually dry the stems and pulverize those too. They'll grind to a powder in your Vitamix really easily, but when they're still on the stems, it's harder to fit as many leaves in your dehydrator on the trays. If you don't have a dehydrator, you could also use, if you have an air fryer that has a low setting, you can probably do it in that. I'm not sure how low your oven setting goes, but it needs to be about 125 degrees. And that will preserve most of the nutrients, evaporate out the water, make them nice and crunchy, so that you can powder them in your blender without them getting gummed up. You need them to be really crispy. I actually have some purple kale in my garden, so this is not going to be entirely a green powder, but I don't think it'll make too much. Anyway, this whole big 8-quart container of greens is going to powder down to just minute amount of greens powder, and then just a nice rounded teaspoon every morning in my smoothie or my little travel mug. You could also sprinkle it on salads. It's just an extra way to get your greens into your diet because they're so good for you. So this is going to be a little bit noisy. I'm going to put as many as I can into my Vitamix. You can do this in batches. I just hate to see anything go to waste in my garden. And of course, I freeze kale because when I make a smoothie at home with frozen fruit, I usually put frozen greens in it. You could do this with spinach. I think my last batch had some mustard greens in it, which are a little bit spicy. You can also use the frozen greens, spinach or kale, to add to soups. I like them particularly in that African peanut stew that I do. It's just so easy just to crunch them up in the bag when they're frozen and shake out what you need into your soup pot. All right, that's about as full as I can get it for the moment. Doesn't take long. I'm going to stop and poke that down just a little bit. Actually, I can use the poker that comes with my Vitamix. I'm going to powder them just a bit finer. I'm all that green goodness. You can see how green it is. So, if you look at this now, that big batch of leaves is powdered down just to a really nice powder. It won't taste gritty, and if you put fruit or other things that have sweetener in them in your smoothie, you won't taste it at all. I store it in a little plastic Tupperware container in my cupboard so I don't forget to add it. And like I said, I really like this for an on-the-go smoothie or post-workout shake when I don't have access to a blender and I'm not blending up frozen fruit and frozen greens. I like to have this because I can travel with it and make sure I get my greens. So, thanks for watching. That's just a little tip. If you've got extra kale, extra greens growing in your garden, don't let them go to waste. Either freeze them in gallon Ziploc bags or dry them and powder them so you always have greens available. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button below, and I'll talk to you next time.